If you are watching this and you are an accountant that is thinking of buying leads, then in this video I'm going to break down the pros, the cons, and also tips to make this a success. Because if you are starting your firm or you are established already and you need to get leads, buying leads of course is a big option, right? You have a couple options like maybe buying on bulk. You can of course do paid ads, outreach, hire agencies to do this for you. There are many options. In this video, I'm going to break down everything that you need to know before you buy leads to get accounting clients. So I will start with the cons because I think it's important for you to know that before you make a decision like this, there are always cons involved. That's basically with every single investment. And I found that with a lot of accountants, and also not accountants by the way, is that before you make an investment related to growth, you get a little bit excited, right? You think, yes, perfect, this is going to solve my problem. But you do need to realize that there are also other solutions that maybe don't sound as sexy as buying leads, that are maybe a better solution. So the first con that I want to give regarding buying leads is that you pay to compete. And what I mean with this is, if you are buying leads, the selling platform, right, that you are buying it from, they can sell the same lead to a competitor of yours. And this is fine as long as you are really good in sales, but oftentimes if you haven't really sold to people outside of your network and you don't have a lot of experience with selling to very cold leads, then you are going to compete with another firm, which is basically most of the times, let's be real, offering the same services, maybe has the same experience, and is going to say around the same things. And the thing is, of course you can win with this, but what most of the firms are doing when they are buying leads is they are going to win this competition by lowering their pricing, right? Because you have to realize that someone is going to a platform to fill in their name because they're looking for an accountant, because they want to have multiple offers. And oftentimes leads and people that go to these websites, they want to have multiple options to see which one is the cheapest. So what they do is they think, perfect, I'm going to go to Bark or whatever platform there is. I'm going to get a couple of offers. I just need my bookkeeping, basic compliance work, and I am going to pick the cheapest one. Now, what most of the accountants do is they just lower their prices to win this competition. Will you, as the accountant, most likely, you want higher paying clients, right? You don't want to sell just the basic compliance, although that's fine, but maybe you also want to have a little bit more of an accounting and advisory role so that you can have a bigger impact, it's more fun to do, you genuinely help the business better, and of course, you get paid more. Well, if you are competing with an accounting firm that is just lowering their pricing and you are not really doing a good job of communicating the value to those higher price services, you are going to lose on price while you still paid to get the lead. Now, another con of buying leads from platforms is that I don't think that the incentives are perfectly aligned. So what I mean by this is, sure, the platform is incentivized to make you money because then you buy more leads. That's entirely correct. But what I found, I run a marketing agency for accountants for 6 years. I have found that when you do a really good job as agency service provider or as lead provider, if you do a phenomenal job and you get the accounting firm a lot of clients, they need to stop your service at some point because they are at capacity. And it happened to me a couple of times where I had great clients, I really enjoyed working with them, and we got them so many leads and so many clients essentially that started referring people that they needed to pause my service, which was costing me money. So now we switch the business model essentially where we will give you the systems because long term for the accountant this is also better. They have more control, higher margins, etc. But as the lead seller, right, first of all, you sell the same lead to multiple firms, but you want to keep your clients just enough like satisfied with your services so that they have a little ROI. Like long term they will make the money back, but short term they are going to lose money and they are going to think, okay, well, yeah, sure, this is making me money. I'm not entirely dissatisfied. I will just keep buying and buying and buying. And as a agency service provider that sells marketing or as a company that sells leads, you are directly incentivized to get your clients just enough results so that they buy more leads, but don't get the highest ROI too fast. Well, you as the accounting firm, of course, you want to have a system where, if possible, you fill your capacity within a few months. And as a business owner, of course, you look at your own pockets and you think, you know what, I rather have a client that is paying me, let's say $1,000 a month for 12 months and then they are at capacity, then I do a phenomenal job and I fill their capacity in 3 months. So you always have to keep that in mind, that they are directly incentivized to keep you a client longer and not shorter with more clients, which of course you rather have. Then another con of buying leads is that you cannot set the right expectations. So if you want to sell higher priced services, or you want to get clients that are focused on outcomes instead of pricing, then if you are buying leads, you are not able to set expectations. Because the thing is that if you are going to do paid advertising, for example, or you reach out to people with cold calls or cold emails or messages on LinkedIn, or even networking, you can set expectations before you buy, essentially, right? Before you spend time talking with the lead and having a sales conversation. Because you can, for example, in your ads or in messaging or in a conversation say, look, we are not the cheapest, but we are the best. Or we are not the cheapest, but we deliver a really high quality service, and therefore you will be able to have an increase in margins, you fix your cash flow problems, and you're going to save money on your tax bill. So by setting those expectations where it's directly value-based instead of cost-based, you are maybe going to get less clients, but they're going to pay you more. And of course, that's always better in the long run. But the thing is that with those lead platforms, they are of course going to set expectations that are best in the favor of getting more leads because they can sell you more leads. And of course, as a consumer that is looking for an accountant, from their perspective, if there's a website that is saying, we are going to make sure you get the best deal, so the lead seller is not incentivized to say, we are not going to give you the cheapest accountant, but we are going to give you the best accountant. Well, that's not in your favor, right? So you have to realize that when you are going to buy leads, the expectations are maybe not what you were expecting from a lead. And then another downside is that you don't have those growth systems in-house. This is actually why I personally changed my business model, because long-term for my clients, the accountants, it's better if they have systems in-house. And trust me, it doesn't take that much time to actually run a marketing campaign that books a lot of meetings. Matter of fact, I've run campaigns for clients of mine where I set up the campaign and it was performing, the algorithm was optimizing, and I didn't have to touch it for 3.5 months. So once you make the decision that you are always going to buy leads from a platform, sure, you maybe get a few clients from referrals, but if your referral growth was fast enough, you wouldn't think of buying leads in the first place. And then you are always depending on another company for growth, because you are not in control of the referrals you are getting. So you have to realize that once you make the decision to always get your leads from other sources like agencies or from people that sell leads, it's fine. And I'm also going to talk about the pros later on in the video, but you are always going to be depending on another company. If they go out of business, then you have a big problem. If they increase their pricing, then your margins go down. So I always recommend the accounting firms we work with have something in-house, because if you have it in-house, you have control. And for example, once this is what happened with us, with my company before, like a couple of years ago, during summer, people, they paused the campaign, right? And then of course, I'm not going to run a campaign for someone if they only spend a couple $100, because then I don't make a profit. So if you work with a third party, you either turn the ads on in a way where you have to spend quite some money, or you have to send dozens of emails and messages, because then it makes sense for the company that's doing it for you, because they are going to get paid more. Or you have to put it on pause entirely. Well, if you have everything in-house, for example, if you want to take it a little bit slower during summer, and trust me, right now it's pretty hot where I am, so that's why I'm wearing this. So if you want to take a little bit of time off, summertime, weather's getting better, you can just decide, you know what, let's just put the volume on like 50%. Let's just still have a couple of meetings, but you are in control and you have the freedom to do this. And also you have higher margins, right? Because you don't have to pay another company. And trust me, it doesn't take that much time to run a really good campaign. For example, right now I have a team, and I'm going to not pitch you anything here, but I have a team where they are going to do everything for me. I don't really have to send any messages or run a lot of ads, like basically 24/7. And it's all basically done for me because I have systems in-house and I've built processes around it. And it's not that hard to build those processes, you just have to figure it out, which is also not that hard to do. So just the control and the margins only is already a big reason why I think it's always worth it to get things in-house. Now, those were the biggest cons, but there are some genuine pros about buying leads. And the biggest one is speed. It's very fast. You can go to a platform today, you pay them the money, and you get a lead now, right? And I will be honest, like if you buy agency services or if you buy processes from someone else, there is still some onboarding time, setup, or a learning curve to get the leads and the appointments in. So let's be honest, it's way faster. The thing is, do you buy a lead because it's fast, or do you buy it because you are avoiding pain? And what I found is that a lot of accountants, they don't like sales and marketing, but they don't like sales and marketing not because the work is annoying to them, but simply because it's new. It's something totally opposite than accounting. The accounting part is a different side of the brain than the marketing and sales part. But it can be learned, and as you probably know, if something is hard, it's never fun. But once it's easy and you are seeing results, trust me, it's very fun to do. So it's fast, but take an honest look at yourself and think, am I doing this because I just don't want to go through that pain of learning it myself? Or am I doing this because it's just generally a long-term and short-term better option? Then the second pro of buying leads is that you can then just focus on sales. When you get the leads yourself, or when you pay an agency to do it for you, you still have to manage the agency a little bit. And if you are doing it yourself, you still have to manage the team or the software that is doing it for you in autopilot. So yes, you can focus more on sales. The thing is, if you buy leads, you of course still have to do some thinking about what leads am I going to buy, but it's basically going to be handed to you, right? And you just have to focus on the sales. So the speed and the ability to just focus on sales, those are true pros. You have to ask yourself, is this also a better short-term play and also long-term play? Because it is costing you quite a lot of money. You are going to compete with others, and there's no guarantee that they give to you. If you are going to take the lead buying route, then here are a few tips that you need to implement to see most success with this. And I actually had a client of mine, John. We helped him to add an extra $100,000 in 1 year in annual revenue. And he also tried the buying leads route essentially. And he also gave me a couple tips, and I've seen this with other accountants too. And the first one is speed. If you buy a lead or you get a notification that the new lead is in, you need to just immediately call them. Just within 5 minutes, directly get them on the phone. There are a couple of reasons. Number one, they are still in a lot of pain, and pain is just, shoot, I have messy books and I want to get a loan, or pain is, I have a huge tax bill and I don't know how to fix it, right? So pain and urgency create motivation, and the motivation, the higher the motivation, the higher chances of them buying your services. So when they are in this painful state because they just submitted a form, right? That's the highest level of pain because they made the decision they need help. You need to capitalize on this and immediately give them a call to book them in. Then the second tip is have your offer value-based and not cost-based. So the con that I was talking about earlier, about you basically compete most of the times on pricing, is, so one of the cons, as you remember, is that a lot of the accounting firms you're going to compete with, they're going to compete on pricing, which is never something I recommend you to do. Instead, you need to have a really good offer and position your offer in a way where it's all value-based. So instead of pitching the basic compliance packages, right? Just basic bookkeeping, basic tax prep, just the basics, and then you maybe get a couple $100 a month from the client, and they do get value, right? They save time and they don't have to stress about problems with the government. And then basically, if you want to win this game by doing this with the best software and lowering your prices, sure, if that's the route you want to take, trust me, it's not the ideal route, because what you can also do is create an offer where, sure, you do the compliance, but you also give them the insights, the advice, and the sessions that, of course, are paid, but just the advisory sessions where you advise them on what products are more profitable, where they are currently leaking money, duplicate payments, maybe there are some tax strategies that they never really thought of. If you are going to do it this way and you just analyze their books maybe, and you just create a picture of what you can do for them, then you are not going to compete on the pricing, but on the value. And if you clearly communicate to someone, look, you own a construction business, your job costing is a mess, you are not bidding the right amounts, your cash flow is always low, so you need to pay interest on loans. I'm going to take this all off your plate so you don't have to stress about it, and I'm going to solve those problems. Look, it is going to be $2,000 a month, but just your interest bill a year is pretty high already. You're going to have higher margins, and my services are basically going to be entirely free. Well, if you go with the compliance route, sure, it's going to be a couple $100 a month, but they are not going to make that money back from your service. So you need to make sure that you do a really good job of communicating this to the prospect and tell them, look, sure, I am going to be $2,000 a month instead of $200 a month, but the compliance package is not going to directly make you money. I am going to make you money, as well as giving you the peace of mind and time savings. So if you truly want to succeed, you have to do a really good job with your offering and base it around the value instead of the cost. Now, then the third tip is follow up on leads hard. And your sales process needs to be optimized very well because you are paying to compete, right? I gave the cons, and of course I'm going to give you the tips, like in case you want to go that route. I make these videos because I genuinely want to give you tips, but you need to really optimize your sales process. You need to realize that when you are going to target businesses outside of your referral network, you need a way better sales process than just your referrals. Because when you talk to referrals, they are already 99% sold on the idea of working with you, right? Their friend or family member recommended you, they trust them, so they directly also trust you a little bit better. But the thing is, the people that you are going to get from buying the leads, they don't know, like, and trust you. And they're also going to talk with other people. So you need to have, first of all, a really good sales process with your initial appointment, right? You need to ask the right questions, have a really good pitch, and maybe handle their objections a little bit. And there are other videos on my channel that you can check out on how to do this in the right way. But you need to have a process like that because they are going to talk to other competitors, and they are also not necessarily warm prospects. They are totally outside of your network, and they are also not really socially obligated to pick you or give you a favor because there's no connection with them to you. There's no friend or family member that also works with you. It's all around sales when you're going to buy leads. You need to have speed to lead, you need to have a really good offer, and your whole sales process with the pitch to the discovery to the follow-up, it all needs to be dialed in. Now, I really hope that this was valuable for you. Really hope this gave you some insights. If you're an accountant and you want to actually get systems in-house, you want to be in control of your own growth, and you also want to have 5 clients guaranteed your money back, there's a link in the description that you can click on to book a call with us and see how all of that works. You don't have to click on it, by the way. I create these videos because I just want to help you out. And if you got some value, make sure you do the liking and subscribing thing, because the algorithm is going to suggest you more videos like this, making you more money. And it also helps me a lot. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.